A somber pealing echoes through the city, an incessant sound that speaks not of celebration or prayer, but of finality. These aren't chimes for joy or worship. They herald only the grim tally of the fallen. Suddenly, a man crumples onto the muddy ground of a cramped London lane. His desperate gasps for air are ragged and weak. Agonizing swellings distend beneath his armpits, straining against his clothing. His body burns with fever, and his eyes glaze over with bewilderment. A woman instinctively reaches out, then pulls back, while others recoil. Doors are swiftly bolted, and windows slammed shut, as no one dares to approach. A heavy cart creaks slowly across the cobblestones. It carries no provisions, no timber, only a grim payload of human remains. Two men add another lifeless form to the mounting heap. A cloying, sickening stench follows them, permeating the very air like a suffocating mist. Children peer from shadowed entrances as priests hurry by, their hurried prayers trembling with fear. They preach of penance, divine retribution, and God's wrath. Yet beneath the urgent prayers and pervasive terror lay a profound confusion. This was not the expected demise for the thriving city of London. In the year 1348, London stood as one of England's most populous and vibrant urban centers. Ships constantly docked along the Thames, unloading wool, wine, spices, and tidings from abroad. Markets teemed with merchandise, workshops buzzed with artisans, and taverns echoed with lively chatter. The city thrived with life, until, abruptly, it ceased to. The illness initially manifested subtly: a fever, a throbbing head, a lump in the groin or armpit. Within days, these swellings blackened, the body failed, and victims began to vomit blood. Some perished within 2 days, with no explanation, no remedies, no comprehension of the horror. People murmured a word they scarcely grasped: plague. This scourge had already ravaged countless cities throughout Europe, emptying towns, halting commerce, and abandoning fields. Now it had arrived in London. They only perceived an unseen force had invaded their existence, one that showed no mercy, sparing neither youth nor piety, destined to transform London irreversibly. How could one battle such an invisible foe? London, a city of enduring spirit, had always thrived despite its harsh conditions and filthy streets. Its people believed in their own resilience. Yet, no one imagined destruction would arrive subtly, carried on the very air they breathed. Far from England, months prior, an ancient menace stirred. In the dry grasslands of Central Asia, fleas fed on infected rodents, unknowingly initiating a deadly chain reaction. This unseen killer began its silent journey along the vast trade routes that connected distant continents. From Asia, it crept to the Black Sea, then to Mediterranean ports, moving stealthily from one harbor to the next. Hidden in ships' dark corners, in rats' fur, and within fabric folds, the disease drifted rather than marched. As infected vessels reached European shores, the grim cycle repeated: sick sailors, collapsing cities, emptied markets. When rumors of these foreign tragedies reached England, they seemed distant and exaggerated, mere continental problems. London heard the tales, but continued its vigorous trade, unwilling to halt its thriving commerce. Then, in the summer of 1348, ships arriving at southern English ports carried a deadly cargo beyond wine and cloth. Feverish men staggered off decks, and soon coastal towns reported strange swellings and the randomness of who lived and who died baffled everyone, even the most learned physicians. Their theories of corrupted air or poisonous vapors
led to desperate yet useless remedies. People burned herbs, carried flowers to mask the stench of death, and underwent bloodletting, all to no avail. Instead, prayer intensified, with churches overflowing with the desperate seeking divine intervention. Confessions became urgent and frantic, as many believed the plague was a divine judgment for their sins. Yet when even the priests began to fall, alongside merchants and laborers, their certainty fractured completely. If God protected the faithful, why were so many dying? This terrifying question twisted reason, giving rise to chilling rumors that outsiders had poisoned wells or cursed the city. Suspicion festered against minorities and travelers, boiling over in some parts of Europe into blind, furious attacks on entire communities. In England, the fear was palpable, though somewhat restrained. The plague, however, cared nothing for blame or prejudice, moving indiscriminately through alleys and courtyards. Bodies accumulated at an overwhelming rate, making traditional funerals impossible. Large, hastily dug pits became the new cemeteries, where layers of the dead were covered quickly with earth, devoid of ceremony. The constant sound of shovels replaced the familiar ringing of bells. Beyond the city walls, the suffering echoed in the countryside. Villages lost farmers mid-harvest, leaving fields untended and livestock to wander aimlessly. In some regions, entire rural communities disappeared, their houses. The relentless pyres ceased their smoke, and markets slowly awakened. Survivors emerged into streets that felt eerily empty, changed. Yet the metropolis they returned to was profoundly altered. When the plague's hold finally weakened, there was no jubilation, only a pervasive sense of loss. Whole lineages had vanished. Guild halls were eerily quiet, and once common, skilled artisans were now precious and scarce. Surviving workers soon realized their newfound value. Demand for labor soared, driving up wages as landowners, needing to restore neglected fields, offered better conditions. Those who previously held little leverage could now bargain, marking a quiet yet permanent shift in power between lord and laborer, cracking the traditional social structure. The pervasive fear of illness also transformed daily habits. Hygiene, once overlooked, gradually became vital, and rudimentary quarantine measures began to emerge for future epidemics. Future generations would learn from this costly ignorance. Faith itself underwent a profound change. Some found their beliefs strengthened, seeing survival as a miracle. Others wrestled with profound doubt, questioning why prayer had not protected the innocent. Trust in established institutions eroded, and the church lost its former unquestioned authority. Psychologically, the impact was even more profound. Death became a stark, undeniable presence. While medieval life was always precarious, after 1348, mortality felt intensely personal. Art, literature, and sermons increasingly mirrored this new awareness, filling the cultural imagination with images of skeletons, fleeting time, and human fragility. The plague didn't just decimate people, it reshaped Europe's collective consciousness. The Black Death didn't annihilate civilization, but profoundly transformed it, accelerating change and exposing deep inequalities. It demonstrated how quickly prosperity could vanish and revealed the medieval world's intricate global connections. Most chillingly, it exposed humanity's limited understanding of the powerful forces governing their existence. Today, we possess scientific knowledge they lacked, comprehending disease and prevention, believing ourselves.
Stand still for a moment in the heart of modern London, and you might feel it, a subtle coldness rising from the paving stones, an echo trapped beneath layers of concrete and progress. The bankers and baristas, the tourists and theater-goers, They all move across a buried landscape of loss. Under the glass towers of Canary Wharf, under the cobblestones of East End alleys, the mass graves of 1348 remain, silent and undisturbed. The dead do not sleep easily when the world above forgets them. Dig a little deeper, past the clay pipes and Roman ruins, and you would find seams of charcoal where the great plague fires once burned, hoping to cleanse the poisoned air. You would find the thin, brittle pages of parish records where a clerk's careful handwriting suddenly halts mid-sentence, leaving an empty space that once held a name, a family, a future. These gaps are the truest monuments. They mark not what was saved, but what was swallowed whole. The plague did more than end lives. It erased worlds. It consumed bedtime stories, extinguished folk songs, swallowed the memory of a grandmother's voice. It left behind a silence so profound that it settled into the very bones of the city. And if you listen on a quiet evening, when the traffic fades and the pubs grow still, that silence is still there, humming beneath the surface like a forgotten hymn. This is the unsettling gift of history. It forces us to see that every empire, every technology, every bustling market is only ever one small tear away from chaos. A flea on a rat, a cough in a crowd, a moment of misplaced confidence, and the web unravels. We too are living in an age that believes in its own permanence, just as they did. We trust the rhythm of our supply chains, the wisdom of our institutions, the solidity of our cities. So did they. So when you next hear the toll of a church bell, for a wedding, for a festival, for a televised state occasion, pause and remember, each chime is a loan from the past, a fragile vibration that once